Well, hello and welcome to the Grow Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Vicky Laffey, and I make this podcast because I want to pass on my wealth of knowledge and experience that I've accumulated over the past 10 years of me being an entrepreneur, so that I can help you launch and grow your own small business. Please remember to click subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on the Grow Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Vicky Laffey. And today we are continuing our series of interviews with experts and pros and people who really know their stuff in the world of business to help you grow your own business, as the podcast name suggests. So today we have the pleasure of speaking to Louise Burke of Zapp Communications. So hello, Louise. Thank you so much for coming along.
Hi, Vicky. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, I love what you're about, Louise. I love, Louise, by the way, guys, is a PR and marketing expert. She is basically great at helping you grow awareness of your brand and then, getting more clients as a result of that. She's an expert at getting you noticed, basically. So Louise, first of all, I would love to start off with it, because you've got a little bit of a story about how you made the leap into self-employment yourself, because this is the type of people that I love to deal with, the type of person that I love to kind of help through this really exciting and nerve-wracking and scary emotional stage of making that leap from side hustle to success, basically. So could you tell us a little bit about your own story first before we start giving the guys some juicy tips?
Yeah, of course. I guess it goes back to 2005 was when I had my second son, and then sort of I was on maternity leave with him. And then kind of around about sort of 9 months, when I was due to go back to work, I decided that I really needed something that was, had a much more kind of work-life balance, was able to do all of the children's stuff. So it was kind of looking for something that was flexible. So I went out and started my own consultancy, and I did that. In fact, to really good levels of success until about 2015, and somebody and I was it was varying levels from sort of done for you PR and marketing services to a few contracts for people, and in 2015, I was approached by somebody I'd previously worked for, and they invited me back, and it was basically to go to an in-house a PR agency role, senior role. It really taught me something, because I went back there for 2 years, and the thing it taught me was that I really didn't want to work for anyone else at all. And in the meantime, I'd actually had I'd had not during that time, but I'd had another baby in 2008, so I'm the mum of 3. So I kind of needed lots of flexibility. But going back to work for somebody, and no kind of disrespect to the people that I was working with, I kind of knew that actually I'd done pretty well, and I knew that what I was doing in my way was actually good and worked, and I didn't particularly think the way that they worked was kind of, there was nothing wrong with it. But I think once you've been working in your industry for a while, you kind of have your ways of working. And so after 2 years, I just said, actually no, I'm going to go back. And I went back with absolutely no clients, nothing, and just started again. And I guess it's gone from strength to strength, and I guess I practice what I preach, and I kind of do that on my own business. So yes, I'm very happy to know that I'm in 2021 and it's going well.
Brilliant. So I love that you did this with 3 kids in tow as well. That's a full-time job in itself, right? Why not? Absolutely. So yeah, this is great. It's quite an interesting story, actually, because often people just kind of make the leap and then they're done with it, but you kind of dipped your toe back into the world of work, and then that made you sort of reach that point that a lot of people reach, which is like, this isn't for me, there's got to be something else out there, and I guess in your line of work, that really stands you in good stead for marketing your own business and getting those clients. So yeah, that's fantastic. So Yeah, you are a PR and marketing expert. So you actually run an amazing Facebook group, which is that's kind of where we got to know each other, called Get Yourself Noticed, which has the great acronym GIN, right?
It's
Which
true,
we just
yes.
love that.
It was completely deliberate, that, by the way. I wanted to find an acronym that was good, and I thought, Gin, I like gin.
Exactly. There you go. Or you were just staring at a bottle of gin and the name just came to you. I love it. I love it. So yeah, I mean, within that group, you deal with a lot of small business owners, a lot of solopreneurs, as the saying goes. Do you deal with a lot of people who are either currently making this leap, or maybe they've just made the leap into self-employment, and are there any particular issues that they struggle with?
Yeah, I think totally, absolutely have really quite a lot of those people in my group, and it's great because you kind of I think Facebook groups are fantastic because you kind of got that it's an inclusive type sort of safe community where people sort of feel happy to sort of share stuff. But bizarrely, I did a live just this week, and one of my members was on the live, and he's just kind of at the pre-launch stage, and it was quite interesting because there's so many things kind of that you have to I think there is a leap of faith, there's that there's a lot of planning, and that, well, when do I start? Do I just get started? And I think actually that's something that really people struggle with, that I suppose one of the things I often say is, and I'm not alone, is done is better than perfect. And I think actually sometimes you've just got to get out there and try it. And if it's if there's a mistake, or you make an error, then actually that's all part of the learning process. And I just and I think you can obviously in a community like that, of course you can share your insight, but I think I would just say once you've made the decision, and you've done you do your research and looking, and kind of who your ideal client is and where they hang out, then that's enough. You have got to get started. If you're committed to doing it, then just get on and do it.
This is it, because it's really hard to when you're first starting your business, you actually don't know who those ideal clients are. I remember when I was first starting out, and if somebody had asked me that question in my first probably 3 years of business, I would have said, well, I don't know, anybody who's willing to pay me money for what I do. That's my ideal client. But as time went on, I definitely I became aware of this concept of an ideal client, and the importance of how to reach them. But it is hard when you're first starting out. How do you get yourself out there? How do you make the sales when you haven't got any sort of audience yet? And I guess this goes for product-based businesses and service-based ones. How do you do that? What's your first steps?
Well, I think you have to. One of the things I say is, what's your one special thing? So think about what it is that you kind of want to, what it is you want to sell, and that kind of needs to be a blend of something that you enjoy doing, and what people are going to buy from you, and so that's a really good starting point. And then from that point of view, you need to think about how you start getting your name out there, growing your audience. I mean, for both small businesses and product businesses and service-based businesses, you need to think about, obviously there's a plethora of social media platforms that you can use. Think about which one is best for you. And I also, you do need to do the work. Go and have a look at, are there competitors doing something, deemed competitors, that doing something similar? What are they doing? Don't be afraid to go and just do a little bit of copying of what other people are doing. Think about look at people on social media. Who are they following? Who's following them? Who's buying from them? What are they offering? Can you do something that's different? So I know that's quite a lot of things to say, but there's do the research. It's a really important. A lot of people won't do it, and also when you are starting out, try and define the one special thing, one message, because you can tell them, you could be doing something like, I don't know, kind of wax melts, but you could be sharing, selling a whole host of different types of products in that area. But think about, perhaps you've done something slightly different, there's a different process, but just think about that one thing and think about selling that, and then worry about introducing people to what else you do once you get them into your world. So that would be
absolutely. I think with something like wax melts, there are a lot of people who, when they're at this sort of side hustle stage, they quite often it's people who are into sort of craft based things like that, whether it be flowers, wax melts. There's a lot of things with like cry cut machines and stuff at the minute, and people doing like creating things. They're creative people, and I guess that's how I got started with my first business in flowers. But I think there's with things like that, there's an awful lot, the technology and the product and the stuff that you need to make those sorts of things is quite readily available now. So what you might be doing might be the same as what someone else is doing, because they've bought the same kit or something like that. So how do you then differentiate yourself from those people?
Well, I think, ultimately, one of the things you need to, if there is other people doing it, then there's definitely a market for it. So don't be put off by the fact that it's a busy market. But how do you differentiate? Is it your customer service? Is there something? Could you focus on a particular range? Is it for, could you niche down? Is it, kind of wax melts for weddings, or is it do you do them for events, or and think about how you can kind of, always say if you can niche down as much as possible. And that's actually a really hard thing for people to do. Because ultimately you talk to any of them, a bit like I'll sell to anybody that's going to buy something, but ultimately yes, you don't know your ideal client absolutely straight away. But one of the things that I do know who my ideal client is. And I work quite a lot in the tech space, but I also have this Get Yourself Noticed social Facebook group, which is much more just small businesses. So that's kind of a bit, I guess you could call it my side hustle, but it's it's a free group. But so therefore I know when I'm doing a lot of my marketing, for instance, on LinkedIn, where my ideal client hangs out, I know ultimately those are the people that come to me. Those are the leads that I get from LinkedIn, because I know that I'm kind of marketing. So try and use the words that appeal to them. As I say, do the research, look what do they say, go and look on competitors' websites, what are their customer reviews like. Customer reviews are really, really, particularly in product-based businesses, are really powerful. Don't underestimate how, and obviously powerful for you to use in your business when you get them, but also to look at what other people, it's often sort of people say, I was looking for something like, and that's what don't discount, go on things like Amazon, YouTube, look at what other people are doing, and that's research and do some more. And I think it's the biggest mistake people make at the beginning. And there's the course you want to get started, but while you're doing it, really just do that research so that you're not wasting time when you're creating things like content for your platforms or for your audience, that you are getting it right. And it won't be perfect straight away. It will be, it's your business, you will refine it, but that's how, if you are resonating with your target audience, then they are going to resonate with you, and you will find they come to you. And it does take time, but they will come to you.
I mean if I could go back 10 years to speak to previous past Vicky and give her some advice in that respect, it would be to say, like, to introduce this concept of an ideal client earlier to her, but also because I didn't know who that was at the time, I would say at least think of a target client, somebody who you just think about the sort of person that you like working with, or maybe that you think you want to work with, the type who might order the type of thing that you enjoy doing, and that's a good start. I always think that then at least it will, like you say, develop over time. And there's something that I call the 3-year leap in business, where the every 3 years or around about that, people make this kind of like leap. It's almost like a trimester, I suppose. And for the first 3 years I was just very I'd sell anything to anyone. If a customer asked for something, I would bend over backwards, regardless if I would make money out of it or not. By the time I'd spent 3 hours trying to figure out how to do the thing they asked for, you'd sort of wish you hadn't taken on the job. So I'd sell anything to anyone, really. And then at 3 years, I just sort of sat back and I was like, you know what? I like working with this type of person. I don't like doing this sort of thing. And you start to like push it in a certain direction, and then 3 years again later I did the same sort of thing. I started to I actually split my branding because I had a flower shop at the time, and I split the branding in between weddings and shop because I found the clients were very different, and I wanted to pursue the wedding side of it, which was always been very popular for me anyway. So it was sort of shortly after that point, I think, sort of that was like my third 3-year leap, I think. No, it was about 2017 where I became conscious of this concept of the ideal client myself, and I started doing lots of work on it. And it's once I discovered who that person was, what made them tick, what they liked about me and why they came to me, etc., I was then able to sort of put that into my the website wording and the kind of pictures I showed on social media, etc. But at first it is tricky to know that, when you're currently making this leap. I think one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is that assuming just because you put something out there on a website, people will buy it. And that's just not the case. There's a whole bunch of extra work to do with that, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no, exactly. I mean, you need to have a plan. That is for sure. And yes, you've chosen what you're going to buy. It's on your website, but how are you going to get people to that website? What are you going to use? Look at the kind of different types of kind of media that you can use. Is it going to be, hopefully sometime soon, in-person events? But is it going to be, is it social media? Is it, are you going to email them? Think about how you're going to get to them, and then think about what you're going to share with them. So, and I think, is there something that you can do to attract people in? Can you give them some, what sort of, can you give them top tips? But I would always say, have a plan, and if you can only work to, a quarterly type plan, that's good as well, but just try and have a view a little bit further into the future, because my advice would be is that if you are literally just every day kind of thinking, what am I going to do now, then it's just very inconsistent. And what in sales, consistency is the name of the game. Whether you are networking, whether you are pushing out content, whatever you are doing, be consistent at it. And you're consistent doesn't have to be 10 times a day or doing something 10 times a day. It's just got to be your, what you're comfortable with, but be consistent. And I think that's, consistency is, you're a content person, so it's about being, and sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's hard, being visible, and sometimes you do, you don't really fancy it, but on those days, just pull something that you've already done before,
and absolutely,
and repurpose it and put it back up there, or whatever, or send them an email.
Absolutely, I'm always saying, work smarter rather than harder. Why reinvent the wheel? But I would say, in terms of getting visible, if anybody's listening and thinking, but I don't like being, having my photo online or whatever. Like, we're not talking about necessarily, doing live streams or taking selfies or anything like that. It's literally just you and your business being visible online, turning up on social media regularly, consistently. And I guess a bit of advice I would give to past me and people who are just starting out and making this leap as well, would be to offer them so much more than just your product or your service. offer them, I think you sort of touched on that before, offer them freebies and tips and advice, and don't just make it all about, here's my product, buy it, you know. Yeah. So that would be a big tip for me. And you know, that works in terms of a digital marketing perspective as well. You know, I do content and digital marketing, and you know, people don't just want to be sold to all the time, you know. So if you can offer them a free, okay, sorry, I think we had a technical glitch there. Apologies about that, guys. So yeah, we were just sort of talking about adding a bit of value, and people don't want to be sold to all the time, basically. So I mean, yeah, sure, sell your things online, but if you can think about the kind of things that people are searching for online, you know, if somebody is searching for a wedding cake maker, they might type into Google wedding cakes Manchester, or you know, wherever it is you live, or they might say, how much does a wedding cake cost, or you know, how much can I expect to pay for a wedding cake, or what design of dress should I have, or you know, there's all this sort of thing. So if you can offer them, you know, helpful guides on stuff like this, right, it's going to get them into your audience.
I think that's right. I think I think when you sort of talked about the value side of things, actually, many people are a bit scared to give too much, and actually in service-based businesses as well, which is mine, is very afraid to give too much value, because you think that, you know, I've got clients who don't want to share too much, you know, too much information, and you say, well, don't be afraid, because ultimately, be confident in your own ability, because you know that what you can do, you know what you can deliver, and if they're going to, you know, people typically aren't going to go away and, you know, employ what you say to do, because typically they can't. You know, you just think about in other walks of life, there are certain things, you know, there are certain things, you know, I wouldn't you know, maybe like something like Facebook advertising, I've had a dabble, but if I was going to seriously go into it, I would get an expert. I can see how to do it, but I don't think I'm the best person at you know, I'm not the best person at doing it. So it's kind of, you've got to think, actually, no, I want to learn from an expert, and if you, the more, because they will trust you. You know, it's that kind of, you know, no, like, trust piece. Don't be afraid to and also don't be afraid to sort of add a bit of your personality. You know, as small business owners, you know, people buy from people. You are, I always feel like, for a broken record, you are you are the kind of the difference. That's why people buy from you, and that's your kind of little USP as a small business owner. You know, that's what makes you different. And if it is your side hustle, you know, you can use that time to think about, what are the people, what don't they do, what would I like, you know, ask people, ask your friends, you know, there's so many things that you can do to be thinking about, you know, how you turn that side hustle into a real business.
This is it. You've still got the regular paycheck, and I know you're probably, it's bursting out of you. You desperately want to, you know, get a redundancy or something to help you make that leap, and you want to be out of that 9-to-5 world, but at least you do have the regular paycheck in the meantime, and you can start. You have the luxury of kind of thinking of this sort of thing and planning a little bit more whilst still being able to pay the bills. So so yeah, absolutely, people buy from people, and there's always going to be somebody who does something else that you do. So I guess
there should be, they should be, because actually it's really, if there's not anybody, you've got to carve out that whole, unless it's something absolutely amazing that you've just invented, of course. there's always some exceptions to the rule, but ultimately, you know, you really want to operate in a market which there is a requirement for. You know, even you look at, like, you know, James Dyson, you know, everyone thought that Hoover could be replaced, and
actually he popped into my head when you said that, actually, so that's strange.
He's just like, you know, who thought that could be replaced? But, you know, people now actually often call it a Dyson, don't they? Not rather than Hoover. So it's kind of, but it's that, you know, those sorts of displacements. It doesn't, you know, that doesn't happen that often. But you just don't be. That's why I say don't be afraid to do some of those things. And if you don't, you know, I ran a visibility challenge in my Facebook group back in April, and the number of people who couldn't stand to have their pictures, or I wanted them to do a video, and there were a few people did them and they were brilliant, and there were some people just not doing it. And so pick a nice photo of yourself. Don't people like it? People just want to know who you are. I didn't actually for quite a long time. I had my picture on my profile because I think, well, ultimately they want to see who I am, so that they associate with me. And and if you share things and your audience doesn't like it, well, they weren't ever going to buy from you anyway. So actually, it's a really good filter.
This is it, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be like showing your face online all the time, doing live streams, etc. You can do a live stream while that doesn't have your face included in it. You can perhaps show people around your office, or take a picture of what you've been working on that day, or all sorts of these things. You can get your personality across in that way with wording and pictures of what you're doing, rather than just.
And there's so many tools that you can use now to do that. I mean, it's lots of free. I use Canva a lot. There's other things. There are other, but actually there's so many free tools that are available to you, and then even if they're not free, not massively expensive, and they are worth investing in, because you'd be surprised at how those sorts of things can streamline. Particularly again, as small business owners, we're time poor. We're doing everything. We are every job. Typically.
Absolutely.
Solopreneur.
Accountant, delivery driver, creator, marketer. Everything. Absolutely. But I mean, I would encourage people, by the way, listening, to build up a team of people like that. Eventually, don't try and take it all on yourself. But I mean, this is a fascinating topic. I think we're both in both of our businesses, we're all about getting people out there, getting people noticed, and in the online world, and also IRL, in real life, as the kids say. And listen to me sounding really old, so I think it's a vast subject, and we could really go into detail about that. I know we both run Facebook groups that do go into detail about this sort of thing and help people along their journey. So do you want to quickly as a finishing note, just tell people where they can reach you if they want to get in touch?
Yeah, certainly. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Zappcomm, ZAPPCOMMS, and then obviously I've got my Get Yourself Noticed Facebook group, which is just Get Yourself Noticed, which would love anyone who's interested to hop in and join us. We have quite a lot of free, literally it's just like I do a live session every week, and there's lots of free, good lots of value and stuff in there. And then my website is www.zappcommunications.co.uk, so you can go, and there's a few freebies on there, so you can go and have a little look on there as well. It's been really enjoyable. I've really enjoyed it.
Freebie.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Brilliant stuff, Louise. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and guys who are listening, I hope you've enjoyed it. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll see you on the next episode. Well, thank you so much for listening all the way through the podcast. I hope you found that really useful, and I hope you've got some actionable tips and knowledge to implement in your own small business. Please remember to click subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. And also you can catch up with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.